Good morning. How are you today? Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. Grab yourself a cup of coffee. A lot of people get together in the morning with these videos. Did you know that? And have coffee, because I get messages from people all the time and comments and say, Steve, I sat down and I had my cup of coffee with you, listening to you this morning, and I like that. It's kind of like getting together and just chatting, and that's a great way to start the day is to talk about good things with good people, right? You know, somebody said, I've had a couple of people say, your volume's too low. Well, I know I speak quietly, so, but I check, and the volume seemed all right to me. So if the volume seems a little bit low, see if you can turn it up on your end, and then we'll both be happy, right? This morning, I am drinking my coffee out of the first annual Stonemont Integrative Preparedness. Let me turn this around so you can see. Stonemont Integrative Preparedness first annual gathering mug. Isn't that a beautiful mug? But you know what? It's not nearly as beautiful as that day was that I got a chance to meet so many of you out there. And it makes me think of you all. Every time I use this mug, it makes me think of that day and you folks that I met. If you weren't able to make it, don't worry. We have another one coming up, October 4th. 2025. We're going to make it kind of in a cooler part of the year this time, and and giving everybody plenty of time to plan for it and get there. So everybody who was there last year, I can't wait to see you again. And for those of you who didn't make it last year, come to the next one. You'll like it. You'll meet a lot of great people, and you'll give me a chance to meet you and talk to you a little bit and get to know you. So let me take another sip. We're going to talk this morning about how to plan, how to prepare for a total grid down situation. You know, I've talked about that yesterday. I said it was because of the grid down situation in Spain and Portugal and all that. And, you know, whether we have the real story on that, I don't know. Who knows? And, you know, it's one of those things we don't know if we will ever know. And it's probably, I don't know that it's important. What is important is that we know that that science tells us that someday we will have an Earth-killing CME, a Carrington class or better, or worse, CME that will take down the grid. And if you've been with me before, even if you haven't been with me before, I've always suggested that you prepare for that, because if you're prepared for that, you're going to be prepared for everything else. And if you're not prepared for it, well, you'll wish that you had. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. And yesterday, of course, I said that the grid could go down today. And that's something that I think is important to keep in mind. That kind of helps you with your motivation to prepare for it, because you know, it may be today, may not be today, may not be for another year or 5 years, but it's going to happen. And when the day comes, it will still be today. That day you will wake up and say, it's today, right? That's how time works. And then whether you are prepared or not, that's going to determine how you live or don't live beyond that point, okay? Today, let me take a sip. And today I'm going to use the first chapter of my first book, The Reversion. This came out in 2017, and I wrote it as a way. Now, there's a lot of people out there talking about, you know, grid collapse and everything like that. For many of them, it's kind of new. They don't quite, you know, they haven't thought it through or whatever. It's kind of been my thing since, well, for many years. And I decided to write the book, which I started, I think, in 2015, came out in 2017, as a way to show people what to expect and how to prepare for a total grid down situation. It's a novel. It's the first in a series. Should I show you this just so you have a sense of it? The Stonemont series is 7 novels. Yeah, I wrote them. The Reversion, the Revival, the Renewal, On Appeal to Heaven, the Blessings of Freedom, Hostages to Fortune, and the latest one, On Wings Like Eagles. And it's all about the total collapse of the system and how one prepared family is able to continue living well beyond, after the collapse as a result of their preparedness. And not only are they able to continue living well, but they're able to help other people. People that come to them, or they go out and find people that need to be helped, and from that they build community. And it's been a very successful series around the world ever since then. If you want to get them, the links are down below, either through Amazon or through me directly through my website, stonemont.us. I'll say another thing about that later on, but I want to get to this. When on the front of the Reversion, it says, when the world collapsed, some were ready to start over. So that's my question to you: would you be ready to start over if the world collapsed? Okay, now I'm not going to read out of this book. I'm just showing you that this is the one that I'm going to take out of, and I'm going to, from memory, kind of go through the first chapter and give you the lessons that I want to convey to people as a way to get ready for, know what to expect and get ready, get prepared, how to prepare for it. So the book opens with the main character, Jim Wyatt, standing in line at a barbecue restaurant. A very famous barbecue restaurant in Kansas City. It used to be called Oklahoma Joe's. Now it's called Joe's Kansas City, because I guess they finally figured out, why should we call it Oklahoma Joe's if it's not in Oklahoma, right? But anyway, it starts there, and he's standing in line waiting to put in his order, and all the lights go out. And you can imagine, the scene. I described the scene. People are confused. They're looking at their phones and trying to tap in. Nobody can get service and everything like that, and a lot of confusion. And the guy comes out. The manager comes out and he says, "Folks, we don't know what's going on. All the electricity's out. We're not able to take orders unless you have cash. So for cash, we have a bunch of food. We don't know how long it'll take for this to come back on. Hope it's not long, but if you have cash, we can fill your orders right now." And most of the people dwindle away, right, in this big long line, because people don't carry cash anymore, right? And that brings Jim closer to ordering. That's the first lesson that I always tell: always carry cash. How much? That depends on you. How much do you have? How much are you comfortable with? A few $100s I think is good. And carry it in denominations that are fairly small. Don't carry a bunch of $100 bills around, or else if you need something, everything's going to cost $100, right? Carry 20s and 10s and 5s. Excuse me. So he gets up, and as a result, I won't get into whole detail, but he has an idea, because of different things that are going on. He has an idea of what's happened, because he's he's prepared, like you are, like me, And so he gets up there, and he was just going to order a sandwich or something like that. But he says he adjusts his order because he kind of knows what's going on. Now, he's about 25 miles from home, and he needs to get home to Stonemont, hopefully before dark. But so he's thinking about it. And he gets up there, and so he increases his order. He gets, several slabs of ribs and a bunch of sandwiches and some coleslaw and some beans, stuff like that. He figures, I'm going to take it home to the family, if I can get there before dark. And he figures this is, an EMP, just because of all the things that are happening. It's not just, phone service down, everything like that. He doesn't see any cars driving by. Back when I wrote it, there was this idea that cars wouldn't work after an EMP. Now they've kind of changed their mind on that. They think that most cars would, and even the cars that shut off, would probably start again. Who knows? We haven't experienced it, so it's still all conjecture. And as it turns out with this, it's a CME, not an EMP. But so he adjusts his order, and then he goes out he carries it out to his car, and tries to start the car. Of course, it won't start. And so he gets into his trunk, goes up there, takes out his jick bag, which I call it a jick bag. One of these days, I'll get around to making my bag series videos. I know a lot of people have asked for it. And I have a bag series. I got a body bag, a grab bag, a jick bag, and an inch bag. I'll get around to making those one of these days. So he gets in his trunk. He gets out his jick bag, well, just in case, JIC, and he gets in the in the car, gets everything out of it that he needs to. He carries an extra pack in there, kind of an assault pack type of thing. I suggest you always carry. So our first lesson, carry cash. Second lesson, have your jig bag. Have your bag with you everywhere. Third lesson, have a secondary bag, because you may have other stuff you want to put in it, right? So he does. He takes out this secondary assault pack, and he stuffs all the food in that. He puts on his jig bag on his back. he makes sure he takes out a second gun that he carries, and he puts that on. When I go to the city, I always carry 2 guns, and then he puts all the barbecue in this assault pack, and he straps that on his front. Puts it together with carabiners and paracord. And then he's thinking, okay, it's going to be how long is it going to take me to get home? This happens late morning. He says, I don't know, 20, 25 miles. When he was younger, he probably could have made it, but he's not sure, if he's going to make it home before dark. So he starts thinking. And actually, I wrote this about an area of town that I'm very familiar with. I used to go to this restaurant all the time, and I used to go past a thrift shop right down the street. So I knew, and he knew in the book, there's this thrift shop down there. So he says, I got an idea. I'm going to walk down there. And because he has cash, they always have bicycles and stuff, and he's able to buy a mountain bike, kind of ratty, but still got air in the tires. He says, okay, I'll buy that. He gives the people there some cash. They take it, and now he's on his bicycle riding home. So, that's the next thing. How do you get home? Think about it. Too many people are just, kind of caught up in the emergency of the moment, and they don't think. But he's thinking. And he says, okay, a bicycle is going to cut my time, in half, if not more so. So now he's on a bicycle. Get the best means of transportation you can. So he's riding through the neighborhoods. He's riding south, and he's looking at people, as he rides by, and they're all out. You can imagine what it's like. Everybody, all the electricity, all the neighbors are coming out, and talking to each other. Are your lights out? Yeah. Are your lights out? Yeah. What do you think's going on? I don't know, but you know how people would be, right? And he has kind of a sadness about him, because he thinks he knows what it is, and turns out he's right. And he realizes that these people don't have a clue, and it's going to be a while before, they're going to be waiting for help. They're going to expect it to come back on pretty soon. And then when it doesn't come on by nightfall, okay, they're huddled up and they're getting all their flashlights out and their candles and things. And they fully expect it'll be on in the morning. But nobody can put in a phone call because their phones aren't working. And it'll be, then they'll wake up the next day, it's still not on. They'll start to get a little, maybe a little worried, a little irritated. But most won't have any idea what's going on. And it will be several days before they really, really start worrying. They don't realize they're already dying. We're told by the EMP Commission that in the event of an EMP or a CME that takes out the grid, any grid down, that 90% of the people would be dead within the affected area within 9 months. And I have no reason to disagree with that. So he's looking at these people, he's kind of sad, and he says, he thinks, man, they don't have any idea that they're already dying, and he'd like to tell them, but he knows they wouldn't believe him, and it would just, slow him down, and his primary responsibility is to get home to his family. And how, that's kind of a lot of people, right? Even when it happens, most people aren't going to believe it. You've dealt with that yourself probably. If you're a preparedness-minded person, a PMP, or even just a prepper, that most people don't believe this. You can't make them believe it, and stopping and trying to convince them is a waste of your time. Which is the lesson there. So he's pedaling through a place, a suburb of Kansas City called Prairie Village. Is a place that I spent some of my boyhood. So I write about the area that I'm very familiar with. And actually, I take him on the route from there to Stonemont. And he really remembers there's a police station up ahead, Prairie Village Police Department at the Prairie Village, Kansas City Hall. And so he wheels his bicycle in there, see what's going on, and he meets some people, he meets a captain of their police department and a sergeant, and and some of their public works people, and they don't really have an idea what's going on either. It kind of gets into it with an authoritarian police captain. The guy is irritated and kind of offended that Jim is coming by asking him questions in a way maybe that he didn't want to be asked. Whatever. You have to read the book to find out. The guy threatens to throw him in jail, and Jim said, no, that's not going to happen, because he knows he needs to get home to his family, and he gets thrown into a cell, regardless of how long it is. That's keeping him from his family, which is his responsibility, and so he is ready to go. He is ready to go right then, and that's another lesson. If you are on your way home and you think you know what's going on, you can't let anything stop you. Do not let anything stop you, including some perceived authority of some little martinet in a uniform. That's just my opinion. Do what you want. So anyway, everything gets cooled out there, and one of the cops are talking about what they should do, and there's one young police officer there who it lives some distance away in Garden City, Missouri, which is about 60 miles east of Kansas City. Maybe not. No, not quite that, but it's probably 60 miles from where they are. And they say, he says, well, I want to stay. Jim says, you better get home to your family, because this whole city's gonna be in a real problem here within a few days. And the young man says, well, I think I should stay and help. And Jim tells him, one person isn't going to help what's going to happen in the next few days, but you can make all the difference when you get home to your family in the smaller town, right? So they kind of talk about that, and the other cops and then they agree, and they say, hey man, some of the four-wheelers are still working. Take some emergency stuff from here and some of the guns out of the gun room, and get home to your family. And if everything turns out fine, you can come back. Otherwise, you're more prepared there. So if you are in a place of business. So another lesson here is some law enforcement will stay. Most law enforcement will stay for a while. They'll stay for a day or two. But after that, they're going to start seeing, when they don't get any emergency communications from, state or Fed or anything like that, they're not staying. Fire's not staying. Police aren't staying. Emergency medical aren't staying. They're going to get home to their families. So, this brings that lesson home that you are, from that point forward, your own and only first responder. You have to rely on you. Do you have what you need to take care of everything after that? Because they're not staying. There may be a few stay, the ones who don't have families, the ones who, for whatever reason, command staff for the most part will, well, depending on who they are, right? Another step. But most will leave within a couple of days. So he goes on, he pedals on, and he's he's riding through a bunch of neighborhoods. He's riding past a neighborhood they used to live in, he and his wife used to live in, and it's making him think about, where they used to live. And he feels good, although he feels bad about driving or riding through these areas and knowing what's going to happen to all these people. And he makes a statement in there. He felt, once he got into nicer areas, he remembers that he and his wife and his kids used to live in this area. And he makes a thought to himself. He said they had worked hard and been smart with their money. Okay, now this is a lesson that a lot of people in preparedness gloss over, or they totally ignore. And see, he's not home yet. He's still pedaling out to his home, which is at Stonemont, out south of the suburbs, way out past the exurbs. And the story is that they were able to get out there and build Stonemont and they're not rich. You know, some people think, oh, they have all the money in the world. Well, you have the money that you make. You have the money that you make, and if you don't spend it foolishly, you have the money you keep. Okay? Well, even if you do, you only have the money you keep. But he says, he is thankful that they've been able to be out where they are because they worked hard. And I do base this off of Kelly and I in our life. They worked hard and they were smart with their money. That carries a message that a lot of people in the preparedness world miss, and that is the importance of money. Now, if you, and I watch occasionally, well, I do almost every day. I'll check in on a couple of channels because it gives me a chance to see what other people are thinking about and talking about. And sadly, too many of them are negatively driven. Okay, they approach preparedness from a position of fear and negativity, and thinking that the ability to live with very little or nothing is what they're after. Well, if you look at preparedness that way, you are preparing yourself to live with little or nothing, and I don't see the attraction with that. Okay, is living with little or nothing better than suffering a horrible death? Yeah, a little bit, but it's not as good as living well. And a person can live well, and this is another message that is lost on many people in preparedness. I see it occasionally in the comments on this channel, and I certainly see it in the comments of other channels. Well, those rich people that live in the suburbs, and they got their big, they almost attack people who are doing well and have worked hard and been smart with their money. And I even hear other channel hosts make fun of people with their big houses and their big cars and their big TVs and going out to dinner and all, with this tone that's bad. Well, what it is of course it's envy. To be real honest, they don't either want to put in the work or don't know how to go about it. I don't know what's the case, but they put people down who have more than they do, and that's a horrible. I mean, hey, you're not supposed to be like that. Read the Bible. But there are many who do, and those are the ones who promote this message of negativity and everything's going to fall apart, and you need to learn to live without anything. And these people that have a lot, their fall is going to be a lot farther than our fall. Which means that they're already living in kind of a not real positive situation. But that is something that's lost on a lot of people. And the better you do financially, the better you're going to be able to do with your preparedness. And I know I harp on this a lot because I want people to do better. I don't want people to prepare themselves to fail. I want you to prepare yourself to succeed. And making money is simply a part of that. Okay? I mean, I'd love to be able to get by on my good looks and great personality, right? Yuck. But so far I haven't been able to. They won't give me gas at the gas station, food at the grocery store on that. No, it takes money. And the more money you have, the better you're able to prepare. And I don't care what the people say about, mindset, skill set, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, all those are good. All those are important. But you know what? Your mindset and your skill set goes a lot farther when you've got the right tool set. Be real honest with you. I don't care how smart the mechanic is. If he doesn't have the right wrench, he's not going to get that engine cover off. Simple as that, okay? So people in preparedness need to understand this. There is absolutely nothing wrong with making money. As a matter of fact, it's going to improve your life now. It's going to improve your ability to prepare to live a better life later. So I wanted to concentrate on that because I think too many in the preparedness world just completely skip over that because it's easier to complain than it is to work, right? So they kind of fall to this living with nothing. Don't live with nothing. You're not going to live very long. You're not going to live very well. Okay, next one. Now he keeps on pedaling. One more sip, or at least one more. So he keeps pedaling, and he's not worried about his wife. He's thinking, because we're seeing his thoughts, right, in the written world. A word, I tell you what he's thinking, and he's not worried because he knows that his wife's going to be home. His wife and kids are going to be home. How does he know that? He hadn't been able to call him because he says because his wife didn't tell him she was going anywhere, and so he knows that, you know, if she's anywhere, she might be at the grocery store, might be at Costco or something like that, but if she's there, she's smart and she's armed and she knows how to take care of herself, and she will get herself and the kids home. Simple as that. If she was going anywhere else, she would have told him, because communications is important. That's another thing. Stay in communications with your family. You know, with our phones, we have something called Life 360, and I'm going to tell you, make an interesting one about my brother here. Not on this, but something cool that he's doing. We have Life 360 on our phones, which allows us to see where everybody else in the family is at any time. Now, a lot of people in the preparedness world, right, especially the paranoid ones, will say, I don't want my phone tracking me. That tells me where they can see where I am and what I'm doing. I don't care. I want my family to know where I am, and I want to know where they are. Not that I'm spying on them, or, you know, hey, it's a matter of you guys that were in the military, right? You guys who were in law enforcement. You want to know where your other team guys are? Yes, right? You want to know when the help is coming or where you need to get to? Communications is vital. Okay. So he knows that she's at home, so he feels good, and he finally says he's pedaling. His legs are burning, and he is just, you know, his lungs are burning, his legs are burning, which makes him kind of kick himself figuratively, you know, for being out of shape. That's another lesson. He says he realized he's out of shape because he hadn't ridden a bicycle in 40 years. I just bought all new bicycles for the family, by the way. I made a short video on that sometime back. You should have bicycles, good bicycles, mountain bikes. I bought them before the tariffs. Got great deals on them. So he's kicking himself. I'm out of shape, his legs and all that. That's another lesson. Get and stay in shape. Okay. And so he's finally pedaling himself out there, and finally he gets to that last long hill up to Stonemont, up to his home. And they named it Stonemont because they built a lot of it themselves and there was the hill that they built it on was just full of stones, and I talk about it in here. They kind of jokingly referred to it as Stonemont, and even put up a little sign out there as a joke among themselves, but it then became referred to by everybody around as Stonemont. So that's why it's called Stonemont, the Mont of Stone. So he finally he gets up, he gets off the bike at the end of the driveway, pushes the bike up the driveway, and Kelly and the kids come out, and one of the kids is running towards him. Daddy, the television isn't working. And you know, you see what's important to different people, right? Of course Kelly knows, she has an idea that there's a problem, and you know, she's been getting ready. She's been getting lanterns and, you know, flashlights and candles out and things like that in case it doesn't come back on. She's got it all ready to go. He didn't have to worry. She's taking care of things at the house, which is it's a good thing to have the other people on your team, you know, tuned in, right? But the kids, they don't know. To them, the biggest thing is the television doesn't work. Now, right now, people are going to say, well, the kids shouldn't be watching television all the time anyway. Well, they don't watch it all the time. And I'll tell you what, a lot of these kids are a lot smarter than we were when we were young. You know why? Because of television and their phones. They learn so much. Don't believe these people who are telling you all the time, and sadly there's too many of them in the preparedness world, that all these electronics are ruining kids. No, they're learning a lot. Most of the people who are saying these things, kids are always on the phone, they don't know anything. They don't know kids. They don't know kids. You can't believe what kids know nowadays as more than we did. And I ask all the time, my kids are saying, so I say, how in the world did you know that? They said, TikTok or whatever, or YouTube, or they watch this stuff. And so he gets home and she looks at the ratty bike that he's riding and says, nice bike. He says, yeah, I was way up at Joe's and I wouldn't have made it home till tomorrow if I hadn't scored this bike and I got barbecue for dinner. So those are the things that you can pick just in there. What are the things in the first chapter? We're getting to know some of the characters, and what are the things that we can learn just in that first chapter? A grid down can happen at any time, whether it's a cyber attack, an EMP, a CME, whatever. And at that moment, that is the moment at which your preparedness stops and your living on your preparedness starts. And I've always said you are going to live, we say on the back of this mug, prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. You're going to live as well tomorrow as you prepare to. Simple as that. And the time to prepare is now. So think about, how do you prepare? I mean, the books, should I tell you? I'll let you know a little bit more of this before I close this out. The books are full of all the lessons that you need in order to prepare for a total collapse of everything. Okay, you can get them a couple of ways, and if you haven't gotten them and you really are serious about preparedness, or if you just love a good Teotihuacan story, you'll love the story. You'll fall in love with some of the characters. Some people have told me that they have, but I call it the complete guide to preparing for, surviving, and rebuilding after a total collapse of everything. And you will learn so much from these. You won't even realize you're learning, because you'll be caught up in the story. You'll love the story. People tell me they've read through the whole series 5 times because they love the story, and realize that their 5th time through, they're still learning because they missed stuff. There's so much in there. They missed stuff that they missed the first 4 times. A couple of ways to get them. Amazon. So like I said, if you haven't read them, this should be your very next thing to do. The link to Amazon is down below. On Amazon, you get them pretty quick. You can get them in paperback, Kindle, or Audible. A better way to get them, and the way that I love for you to get them, is through me directly, and that is through our website, stonemont.us. That link is also down below. When you get them from me, I don't get them to you as fast, but I get to sign them for you, write a little note in there to you. We give you a discount if you buy the whole set, which is how most people do it, because when you get done with the first one, you're going to want to keep on going with the second one. And we give you a discount because when you can't buy the set on Amazon, because when we ship them as a set, we save money on packaging, handling, and postage and all that. So we pass that on to you, and then we throw in the Stonemont notebook as a freebie from me to you, and you'll use this all the time to write your lists and questions and your preparedness planning. You will love that, and I'll tell you right honest, I'm telling everybody, I'm making the announcement right now, we have sold out again. We sold out all the time. Then I put in another order. So when you order them through the website, it'll say 5 to 7 days delivery. Not now. We're just buried in orders. We're getting them out as quickly as we can. I just put in another order. But it won't be here for a couple, 3 weeks. It's gonna take a couple, 3 weeks for you to get the books, but you'll get them from me personally signed and everything like that. And so that's the way that it's great to get. But the sooner you get your order in, the sooner you'll get your book, because we fill all the orders in the orders that they come in. So order them today, and you'll get them quick, or as quickly as we can. So anyway, think about, everything that you need. What do you rely on? You know the things, right? Food, water, shelter, defense, people, medical, all those kinds of things. You have to go through, and the book series, of course, helps you. But go through all those things that you need, all those things you rely on, all those things you go to the store for, because you can't go to the store anymore, or it'd be dangerous. Another lesson also, I want to say this. Another lesson is, while it will be possible, some people will be able to survive in a city. I know that there are plenty out there that will say, no, everybody in the city is going to die. Well, they're just parroting something that they've heard. And certainly the cities are going to be very, very dangerous. There's going to be a much higher mortality rate probably in the cities. The more densely you have people packed, the higher the mortality is going to be. It's going to be lower as you get out through the suburbs, and lower still as you get out into the country. But not, there's still going to be plenty of people dying in the country. And I go through all those lessons in there. Who would survive in the city? What would be happening in the city? What would be happening in the suburbs differently? And how, there's more people in the city, but there's also more resources. And there will be the rise of warlords, and there will be the rise of cannibalism and slavery and all that. I write about all that stuff in there. But you think, and the thing is, have a place to go. If you're in a more densely populated area, have somewhere to go, whether it's a relative, whether it's your own place. And I suggest people work. I'm going to put up one, probably, I shot it some time ago, about looking for looking for a property, because I'm always looking for more property, for a new property. You want different places to go, and if you can own a secondary location, that's always best. Okay, so if you live in suburbs, something like that, think about, hey, land is probably starting to come down here pretty soon. Is there a place that I can buy a couple of acres somewhere to go if everything falls apart? That's a good thing to do, and then start preparing it. That's the subject for a whole nother video. Maybe I'll get to that, but I'll probably put up the one. I took a little tour through an area on a place that I was looking for property. I'll probably put that up on the Patreon channel. I don't know if I'll ever put it up on YouTube, but if you're with us on Patreon, I'll put it up. You can see that. And if you're not with us on Patreon, hey, you ought to be. The link's down below. Just come over there. It costs you $1 a month. That's nothing, right? And you'll learn a lot more over there. We got some unbelievable people over there. We have some super smart people over there that I learn from, and you can too. Okay, all right, that's it. That's just the basics of how to think about preparing for a total collapse of everything. And the better you prepare, the better you're going to live afterwards. But you know your situation, and you have to put your thinking cap on, because it's going to be up to you. Don't be afraid. Don't let these fear merchants and fear mongers scare you. Okay. Like I said, we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. You're going to live as well tomorrow as you prepare to. And if it doesn't fall apart between October, who's gone, man? I don't know. If it doesn't fall apart before October 4th, we will see you at the next gathering, and I'll be talking more about that later, all right? All right. You all have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.